You bring in a generational quarterback prospect.
We've heard that before.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to Sports Bluff. I am your host, Tristan Bunn, alongside my friend, my confidant, my fellow football fool, Ryan Lambert, bluffing our way through the NFL offseason. We both recently went on vacation. I know I had a really good time. I hope you and the wife had as much fun as me and my wife did.
Well, we were without kids, so automatically we had more fun than you guys.
Well, we didn't have kids either.
That's true, but having kids than not having kids elevates our funness meter way above whatever you guys could achieve.
Because you've experienced the time together with kids, when you get the time without, it's an added bonus that I can't understand yet, is what you're saying.
The ecstasy that you feel with not having kids around is better than any modern day drug that you could possibly have.
If they could put that in a pill, I mean, we'd really be talking about science reaching new heights, huh?
That's right. That is absolutely correct. Well, needless to say, you and I both went on beachy vacations, and neither one of us came back with a tan.
No.
That's just not in the cards for us ever.
No. I know to load up on sunscreen at this point, and I would definitely do that if I went to the NFC South. Oh, segue. Okay, so while we were on vacation, they released the first over-unders of like teams like the win totals. Anyone who's watched the show before, particularly back when we were just in podcast form, every season, one of our prediction things we do, we predict each team's over-under. We go through every division and do that. We will still do that before kickoff. We're not locking into anything, but we just want to go through and pick a couple teams we see that stand out and pick some that we think are over, some that we think are under. So here is the list of AFC and NFC teams. Those are the over-under totals. Ryan, I'll give it to you first. Give me a team that stands out to you that you think right now you would hammer the over on.
I'm going to go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right here, and I know that Baker just got paid. I know that he's losing the offensive coordinator that made him who he is today, but I'm telling you, when you look at this division, somebody's got to win it.
Right.
The odds are in their favor. I would assume that the second best team in this division will probably be Atlanta when it's all said and done. When the season is midway through, we're going to be looking at Atlanta having that number 2 spot in this division. If you ask me, I don't think the Saints nor the Panthers are going to be able to pull it out and beat either one of those two teams. I think Atlanta's defense is too good. But talking about the Bucs, they have a decent schedule when you look at the schedule as a whole. They have a couple of tough games when you talk about the Eagles. They're going to be playing the 49ers and the Chiefs. And they're going to have some tough games, don't get me wrong. But at 7.5, especially what they did last year with winning the division and making it into the playoffs, I don't understand why you would ever have them under 7.5. Seemed really, really low for me. I know they need some key pieces on defense, but offensively, I think they're stacked. They're going to be just as stacked as they were last year. If they can get a cornerback put into place, I think that's going to be an elite team in the NFL, especially in the NFC South.
I agree with you. I don't know if they can get to 9-8 again, but I think they'll probably hang right around there 8. Because we know winning 8 games is probably enough to win that division. The NFC South, like you basically get above 500, you're going to win the division. The wild card, as you said, is Atlanta. What are they going to be able to do with Kirk Cousins? Is he going to look like he did in Minnesota pre-injury? Is he going to really give them a run for their money? Because I think me and you both have no belief in the Saints. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and the Panthers, good luck with that dumpster fire. If they did anything, it would surprise us. I love what Tampa's done this offseason because they haven't gone overboard in signing, but they've kept a lot of key pieces. Yep. Obviously, they signed Baker Mayfield. The big addition is keeping Antoine Winfield Jr., probably the best safety in the National Football League, in my opinion. They kept Jordan Whitehead, the other safety, who's also really good. They make a great 2 pieces together. Levante David, Mike Evans still on the team. The only issue I see for Tampa Bay right now, just looking at the lineup on PFF, the interior of the offensive line is a problem. I assume they're going to try to address it in the draft, but we both thought the offensive line was going to be an issue in 2023, and they overcame it and were a couple plays away from the NFC Championship game. So I'm interested to see what they look like without Canales and if Baker and the offense take a step back. But if they don't, if they can even just maintain that level they were at last year, they should be a legitimate playoff contender. I'm with you all the way.
Let me hear one of your overs.
Okay, one of my overs, first one that stuck out to me when I looked at this list, I'm going to stay in the NFC, but I'm going to go up north and go to Green Bay, the Packers. I'm going to say over 9.5 wins, no doubt, because Ryan, last year they went 9-8. You're telling me you can't find one more game for them? I understand the schedule is going to be a little bit more difficult this year. If you have it, you can talk about that in a second. But year 2 of Jordan Love in Matt LaFleur's offense, another year getting comfortable, bringing in new defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley from Boston College, because that was really the Achilles heel of the Green Bay Packers late in the season once they got good and made the playoff run, was the defense. A lot of people thought they should have moved on from the defensive coordinator before they did. They made the decision. The defense should be better. They added Josh Jacobs, who's going to make that backfield nasty. They brought in Xavier McKinney, who we all think should elevate the defense and help that secondary, which has kind of been a weak link. I just think this is a team that was so young. I mean, they were either the youngest team in the league or one of the youngest teams in the league. And to go 9-8, to have the 49ers on the ropes and outplay them in that game, I don't see a scenario where they don't at least match that next year as far as win totals, but I think they can easily get to 10 wins as long as Jordan Love doesn't, pull on some kind of regression. But I expect him to get better.
Right. I do too. And you look at their schedule, you had mentioned it. At home, they're going to have the Bears, the Lions, the Vikings, the Cardinals, the Texans, the Colts, the 49ers, the Saints, and the Dolphins, right? In those games, there are a few tough games, tough matchups for them, especially with like 49ers and, even the Texans. They're going to definitely challenge them. But ultimately, there's no reason why Green Bay, like you said, why can't we find one more win here? They're going to be a better team. Jordan Love, especially midway toward the end of the season, really started to get into the groove. I don't expect him to get out of that groove anytime soon. I think Green Bay has struck gold 3 times in a row, however possible that is. I think Green Bay has a really good chance at going over here. I know I hate agreeing with you all the time, but I'm going to have to on this one.
Yeah, well, we were so wrong about Green Bay last year, and
I can't do it again.
No, and my opinion before last season was, and I really do think this is fair, I didn't know if Matt LaFleur was a good football coach. I knew he was a good coach. I didn't know if he was a great coach. You know what I mean? I didn't know if he really deserved to be spoken of in that Kevin O'Connell, Sean McVay, offensive coaching realm. He obviously does. We talked, Aaron Rodgers honestly might have held them back from not running Matt LaFleur's offense. And Jordan Love did that. He really came on at the end of last year. They were rocky up and down. So I think if they can nail a couple of draft picks, similar to Tampa, interior offensive line and linebackers, they need help in the linebacker core because it's depleted. This should be a team vying for an NFC championship without a doubt.
Let me talk to you about another over that I have right here. The Houston Texans.
Yes. What's the number at? What's the line? 9.5.
9.5. Thank you for finding that before I did. I had 18 tabs pulled up, and you were the man with the plan.
No problem.
What is there not to like about the Houston Texans, okay?
Nothing.
They have done the offseason tremendously well. They have, they're going to do the draft well. Like, there's nothing in my soul that cannot put this team over at all. Like, I don't know where you would look and say, you know what?
Where have they gotten worse?
Especially in this division, you got the Jags that, well, they're going to continue to be a roller coaster until I'm proven otherwise. Mm-hmm. And then you have the Titans. Let's be honest, what do we expect of them with a new coach and a pretty much brand new team altogether?
Right.
And then you got the Colts. Yeah, the Colts are going to give you problems. That's just what they're going to do. But I don't see any realm of possibility of the Texans not winning this division, right? I have them over 9.5 wins here because they added people or receivers like Stephon Diggs, okay? We're going to talk about him later, and I know that I've said it before that he's washed. I think he's a perfect fit for what this Texans team needs from him.
Well, exactly. He's not he's not washed. It's just that he can't be your own. The problem with him in Buffalo is he can't be your only guy, your only go-to. But putting him in that system with Nico Collins, with Dalton Schultz, with Tank Dell coming off an injury,
right.
like he should be able to contribute immediately. Another big addition for them too, man. Danielle Hunter, the edge rusher that they got. That's a huge addition. And also Dalton Schultz to bring in the tight end room. Jeff Okudah at corner, Noah Brown as another receiver. The Texans are doing what you do when you have a rookie quarterback. You see, hey, we've got the guy on a rookie contract. Break out the checkbook and start spending, baby, because we have got to go. The window is open now. You know you have to capitalize on that rookie quarterback contract. They have got it. They've got a top 5 to 10 quarterback. Spend, and go all in and push for the Super Bowl because I think they're a legit contender, buddy.
Let's also not forget that while they let go of Singletary, they added Joe Mixon to backfill him.
Right.
Joe Mixon is, in my opinion, a more talented, dynamic back than Singletary is. I think Singletary, he was perfect at the Texans as far as what he was supposed to do.
Yes.
But Joe Mixon brings another level of physicality and elusiveness that Singletary just physically couldn't ever touch because Joe Mixon is a phenom when he's eating. When he is good to go, you just sit back and let him eat. That's all he has to do. I think the Texans have forged a pretty close to perfect offense on paper. Let's see how it translates to on-field play. But for me, looking at the paper, I don't see them coming under 9.5.
I agree completely. They won 10 games last year, and C.J. Stroud should just continue to elevate his game. I think you can make an argument when you factor in the contract, the only quarterback you would take over him right now is Patrick Mahomes. I really think C.J. Stroud is that special, especially considering the rookie contract. So I'm excited. They're definitely the team everyone's watching. I'm going to go back
I'll
to
keep my mouth shut.
Okay. I'll go back to the NFC.
I would say Josh Allen too, but let's just move on. Let's just move on.
Factor in the contract, though, is all I'm saying. Like, you've got the rookie contract, but... Well, hey, we're going to see because Josh Allen ain't got nothing to work with. But we'll get there. Don't worry, Bills fans. We will get there. I'm going to go with the Rams, who I had to double take at this number. The line right now, 8.5 wins for the Rams. Ryan, they went 10-7 last year. Like, yeah. I understand that Aaron Donald retired. Trust me, I didn't miss that news cycle, and I know he's a big player. I know he is integral to that team, but they've got so many good defensive players. They've got Turner, they've got Brown, they've got pieces in the secondary. I don't think losing him is going to net 3 losses. Does that make sense? Yeah. Even if you say losing him, they're going to take a step back. Okay, but I don't think they're going to step back to eight wins. They can easily find 9 wins, no problem. They're going to be good. Stafford is there. Sean McVay is a wizard. He's proven what he can do. Kyron Williams, one of your favorite players in the league. Puka Nacua coming into his own. Maybe Cooper Kupp isn't what he used to be. Maybe he's still dealing with injuries, but it's okay because you've got enough pieces there. I think the Rams are going to have another great year. They should have another great draft class because that's the reason they were successful last year. We said it preseason. We both picked the under because we said the only way they're going to be good is if they have an incredible draft class. Well, guess what? That's what they did. I think they have a good shot at doing that again. The rookies that performed so well last year, another year in the McVay system, another year in the league getting comfortable. I think even though you lose Aaron Donald, as long as Matt Stafford's healthy, as long as he's healthy, the Rams should continue to elevate. And again, man, I honestly think they're a Super Bowl contender. Seriously.
Do you think that Stafford has enough gas in the tank to carry him through?
I do, because if you watch that playoff game against Detroit, he was incredible. I mean, he looked incredible. He was throwing some of the best passes I've ever seen him throw. As long as he doesn't have an injury, like that is a concern. It's a concern with any older quarterback, but I'm not going to sit here, April 8th and grade on a curve and expect injury. Assuming Stafford plays, they could win the Super Bowl. I genuinely believe that.
That's you heard it here, folks. If it happens...
You don't think they could?
Buddy, I think... No, not with the competition that's in the league right now. I don't think that the Rams...
They could have won it last year.
They could have, but so could have 31 other teams.
No.
Let's be honest, probably like 25.
No, that's different. The Rams were in a dogfight with Detroit, who went on to face... I mean, they were a game away from the NFC Championship last year. I think they can be better than that.
Maybe. maybe it's really hard to go back to back like that too and just be as perfect as you were. And like losing Aaron Donald is a big factor, right? I agree with you that it's not like a -2 game factor, but it is big. And I think it's not only big for that actual position, but it's big for the team because he was a team leader, man. Like he carried the defense not only physically, but also mentally and as a whole unit. Like he was the guy that everybody rode his back to get to, their next guy, right?
He was like the leader in the locker room. Yeah.
Yeah, but or even on the field, he took an initial block and pulled 2 guys, and then, well, that leaves the rest of the line to go get the quarterback.
Good point.
Like he was an X factor, but I just don't know that this team is good enough to be as good as they were last year. I'm probably going to disagree with you here and say that I could see the Rams. They're definitely going over 8.5. That's a super low number, but I just don't think they're going to be as good as what you are forecasting them to be.
Let's talk about some teams that we're not as high on. Looking at this list, let's put it back up. These are all the win totals right now, initial Vegas lines. Give me a team you're looking at and you're saying, sorry, give me the under.
Yeah, man, I'm going to have to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers here. And I know you're going to argue me with this because you have facts and you have stats, and I get it. I really do. But just looking at the body of players that they have right now.
Call that a roster.
I don't see any, I call it a body of players. That's my new term for the season. I don't see any way. They went 10-7 last year, okay? I get that. And this season, they're projected at 7.5. I'm going under because the schedule they have in front of them is daunting. It is scary. And I'll point this out to you. They also have the Bengals in their division, right? Last season, right. The Bengals were not what the Bengals this season hoped to be. So maybe I'm being a little biased there, but the Ravens, the Browns, and the Bengals are all going to be a much better team than the Steelers. But we're talking about the Steelers 7.5, right? Just listen to some of these opponents. The Ravens twice, the Bengals twice, the Browns twice, the Cowboys, the Chiefs, the Chargers with a new head coach, the Eagles, the Colts, the undetermined Falcons. You tell me where this roster can stack up to that schedule and win 8 times. Where?
Let me just looking at it. Let's say they split the division games. Okay, so they get a Raven, a Bengals, a Browns. You might say I'm being generous. Okay, let's just give them 2. Not even 3. Let's give them 2. Okay, 2 division wins. Then Cowboys, no. Chiefs, no. Chargers, no. Giants, probably. Jets, it could go either way. I'm going to give them the Jets, okay? So that's 1, 2, that's 4 wins right there. Then you go Atlanta Falcons, I'll say no. Broncos, yes. Colts, they could probably beat, and then Raiders, and then right there, you just got to beat the Commanders to get to 8. So I guess when I look at it that way, it is more borderline preseason.
Wait, what? Run that back, because I just counted 7 that we just talked about, and we're at 7.5.
Well, the Commanders as well. Commanders at the end would be.
Well, you also gave them the Colts, where I definitely would have, because I think that the Colts receiving core would outmatch these cornerbacks in an instant. Like, it's just no competition. But I understand what you're saying, that Mike Tomlin's never won under 10 wins or something like that.
He's never had a losing record is the thing. So right. He's never had such a bad season. And here's where I'm saying I am not high on the Steelers either, man. I don't think they're going to be good, but I think they're going to do what they do every year. And I'm back on my Steelers tangent. Pittsburgh fans, if we have any, probably hate me, but it's the same thing every year with Mike Tomlin. It's barely win enough games to sneak into the playoffs and then get blown out in the wild card round. They do it every single year. You're telling me, coming off of Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph, you add Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. I don't care what issues they have. And Arthur Smith as the offensive coordinator. How is that not an immediate upgrade right there? That's I understand looking at the roster, and even the Mike Tomlin's never had a losing record argument. You put that aside. You get
Tristan,
better quarterbacks. How do you not get better play?
Tristan, this is kind of what the Steelers are like to me, okay? You like NASCAR.
I do.
Right? Okay. Imagine you had a Toyota Corolla in the pit, okay? And you went and you upgraded the tires on it. You put a new spoiler on it. You lowered it down to help the G-force in the turn. You put a better driver in it. You put a new steering wheel, a better shifting transmission, and you changed the oil 8 times. You still have a Toyota Corolla engine mixed with a whole bunch of horsepower that you can't match up to. That's the Steelers for me. They've upgraded all these positions, and I still don't think they are in the same league as some of these teams that they're going to be facing to have to get over 7.5 wins. That's just my opinion.
When you compare the teams on paper in the preseason in April, yes.
Which is what we're doing.
That's the name of the game. I get it, but every single season, Mike Tomlin goes and the Steelers win multiple games they shouldn't win because they're in close games. Look at the playoff game against the Bills. They were in that game. That was a close game down to the wire. Mike Tomlin coaches his guys up, and he has them playing in tight games, and they're going to. I know when you look on paper and you're like, oh, no way they're beating even the Colts or these teams. They're going to win some games they're not supposed to win. I understand like your analogy and what you're saying, and you've still got a Toyota Corolla. Okay, but that Toyota Corolla without all the upgraded parts won 10 games last year. I don't see how it gets worse from last year. When you've upgraded the quarterbacks, when you've upgraded the offensive coordinator, how do you go down 3 games from last year? I don't see it.
The Steelers, the only thing I'll give you, the Steelers beat the Ravens twice last year.
Yeah.
Because one, Lamar Jackson was out. The other one, they just called Baltimore's number. That was one of those games they were not supposed to win.
Right.
Now, the one where Lamar Jackson was out with an injury, they were supposed to win that one.
Mm-hmm.
But the one when he played, they called their number. They had the Baltimore Ravens game plan mastered. So, yeah, I see where you're coming from, that there's going to be games that they're not supposed to win that they all of a sudden do, and we're like, whoa, how did that happen? And then the Steelers still managed to go nowhere for the entire season. They still just maybe have 10 wins, and hey, that's great. But this schedule may be one of the toughest schedules in the league this upcoming season. I'm not going to bet on Russell Wilson, who I haven't seen play really well in the past 2 years, to lead this team over 7.5 wins. Give me one of your unders.
All right, so I'm going to stay in the AFC, but I'm going to go to a different division. I'm going to go to your Bills divisions, the AFC East, and I'm going to go with the Patriots, right now listed at 5.5 wins, which seems incredibly low. I know, and maybe I'm taking a risk here. They went 4-13 last year. Ryan, if you bet the over on this bet, you would need Gerard Mayo and the Patriots to win 6 games. I don't see how it's happening. Is there a chance that Gerard Mayo comes out there and surprises us all and has this incredible coaching ability, rubs a lamp, and Robin Williams comes out there with a whistle and tells people where to get in line? That's possible. Okay, it can happen. Anything can happen. It's the National Football League. That's why we love watching it. It's not gonna happen because it's the New England Patriots. And it seems to me like they've gotten rid of Belichick, and they're like, the Belichick era is behind us. That didn't work. It finally, it puttered out. We've reached the end. We're going to start anew with a Bill Belichick disciple. Gerard Mayo, defensive guy. Get back in here. You're our man. I don't understand turning the page with Gerard Mayo. Maybe I'll be proven wrong. He seems like a really cool guy. He seems smart, and he seems like all of the players like him. They believe in him as a leader. So that's great. I don't know what he's supposed to do with this roster. It is absolutely depleted. I don't know what they're going to do with the 3rd pick in the draft. Even if they draft a quarterback, Ryan, he's going to fail. There is no chance a quarterback succeeds in this environment. It's just an utter disaster.
Well, I heard somewhere today that there's rumors that the Patriots may not even go for a quarterback.
Right.
And may trade their pick away or trade down or something.
Yeah.
I think the Patriots are preseason committing to a losing season.
Right. I mean,
I don't know if that's possible, but I think that's what they're doing. And also, if you look at their offseason moves, they've added the retirement home to their roster. Like Jacoby Brissett, Hunter Henry. We're talking about guys that are 28, 29, Kendrick Bourne, Kyle Duggar as safety. They're adding these guys that are older people, and it's like they're doing the smallest amount possible to have a full roster. They've added no key elements that tell me that, oh, wow, they're trying to rebuild here. Like, it's the most status quo offseason I've ever seen, and status quo coaching hire. It literally is. It's almost like they're setting up Mayo to go ahead and fail. Like, oh crap, he has to be here because it was kind of in the contract, and he was Belichick's like guy that was supposed to be groomed for that position, and oh boy, he's not ready. Let's just do the minimum stuff, not spend a whole lot of money.
I don't know, man. Robert Kraft believes in him.
That should tell you all you need to know. Like, something's gone off in Kraft's head. He's not there anymore. I don't know what he's thinking. Maybe he's seen something that we haven't. But when I say we, you and I also talk about the entire sports broadcasting world. Nobody has ever came out and said, you know what? You haven't thought about this about Mayo. You haven't seen this happen. What about when he did this? I've seen nothing about that.
We didn't even hardly know who he was other from being a player. Like, that's it. You know what I mean? Well,
Look, I thought, you know why I think Kraft likes him is because Kraft Mayo. It's like it's already a product. Like,
that's so
we already have that. We don't need it again.
It's like, we got it. We'll just roll with that. Okay, question, we'll move on from the Patriots because I think everyone agrees.
Stupid jokes for stupid coaches. That's all I got to say.
And a stupid podcast. What is the best case scenario for the Patriots? How many, if like absolute holy crap, cannot believe that happened. Okay. What number is best case scenario?
Okay, let's I'm reviewing this schedule. And yeah, it looks even scarier maybe than the Steelers. Okay, let's just I know we broke down the Steelers a little bit.
Fine, go ahead.
Let's break down the Patriots just a little bit, okay? I want you, I know you asked me this question, but I want you to tell me where you see a win.
Okay.
Buffalo Bills.
No.
Miami Dolphins.
No.
The Jets.
One of them, yeah.
Okay, the Texans.
No.
Nah. Colts.
Probably not.
Rams.
Nope.
Seahawks.
If they're lucky, but no.
Chargers.
No.
Then you got the Bills, the Dolphins, the Jets, the Cardinals, the Jags, the 49ers.
Jags, they could beat maybe. Cardinals, give them 3, being generous.
Then the Titans, I may give them the Titans,
That's
maybe.
4.
And then the Bengals and the Bears.
If they're lucky, they could beat the Bears. That'd be 5 right there. And that was being generous. Dang, that is a tough schedule.
That's a stretch. It's a really tough schedule, especially with a team who has a roster that is about as good as a junior varsity team.
Ooh, man. And here's the thing, too. Maybe Mayo proves us wrong. I'm not going to be shocked if Mayo turns out to be a great coach. I'm not even hammering this because of Mayo. Like, there's a chance he's a great coach. Like, wouldn't be shocked if that happened. But as you said, the roster is so depleted. I don't know what Andy Reid could do with that roster. You know what I mean? This is a full-blown rebuild. All they have is rubble, and they have to start from scratch. Okay, move on. Give me your last team that you see and you say under, and this one is absurd.
Okay. I'm going to go with the Chicago Bears right here.
You don't want to change your pick. I'll allow it.
You'll allow it?
I'll allow it if you want to change.
I'm not going to change it.
Okay.
I'm going to stick to my guns. I know it's rough because you know that they're going to go and get Caleb Williams, right? Everybody knows that. It's pretty much said and done. I don't put a lot of stock into these first-round quarterback picks anymore. I used to. I don't anymore. It's very rare that we have a number 1 quarterback pick turn out just excellent, like way better than we thought he would be. He's inheriting a team that was in disarray. It still may be, we don't know fully if it was the head coach or the quarterback. This is going to tell us this year. So we don't know what's going to happen there. I don't have faith in this roster to carry this team over the 8.5 wins that they're projected to have. Now, I know you're going to disagree with me because, well, that's just what you do. But I don't know, man. I look at who's in their division. I don't see that they could beat anybody in their division except maybe the Vikings. Maybe. Not even a definite that they could do that. I know they've added DeAndre Swift. That's a big upgrade at running back. That's a huge upgrade.
Well, they've added a lot of players.
Yeah, Jalen Johnson. They've added Byard. They've added
Keenan Allen.
I see all the things that they've done. They've had actually a really good offseason.
They've had a great offseason.
I mean, they've done it better than most.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to land Caleb Williams. And that's, I don't know if I'm Caleb Williams, if I'm super excited. I mean, we kind of know how he feels, but I don't know how this is going to go.
Ryan, okay, hold on.
There's too many uncertainties for me to put them over 8.5 wins.
This is one of the best situations a rookie quarterback is going to walk into, maybe in the past decade plus in the league. Remember, rookie quarterbacks are usually going to a terrible team who has the first overall pick. Chicago doesn't have the first overall pick. They have the 9th. They have the first overall pick because of that trade with Carolina. This is Carolina's pick, not Chicago's. Chicago went with 7-10 last year. So they went 7-10 last year with a quarterback who literally could not throw the football. Okay, and it missed multiple games due to injury. You bring in a generational quarterback prospect.
We've heard that before.
Well, hey, I'm with you. There is no telling what is going to happen with a quarterback coming out of college. There's no guarantee. However, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say Caleb Williams is better than Justin Fields, the guy that couldn't, get traded for a 6th-round pick, barely. He can throw the football. And you watch Caleb's tape, which I know you're not digging into all the draft players like I am watching the tape, but I'm telling you, man, Caleb Williams is exceptional. He is exceptional. I mean, he makes throws that put your jaw on the floor. He has questions too. He is not a 100% can't miss prospect. I understand that. But he is better than Justin Fields, and there is just no debating that. They go 7-10 last year, bringing in a rookie quarterback who has generational gifts and abilities, as well as all these extra pieces, Swift, Allen, beefing up your team. That should net you 2 wins. If they won 7 games last year with the quarterback, with the weapons you're giving him, you're bringing your quarterback into a perfect situation to succeed. I think you can easily get 2 more wins. The only question is the coach. Sticking with Matt Eberflus is questionable, sure, but the team did get better at the end of the year last year, and Eberflus, who's a defensive guy, had that defense playing really tough down the stretch. They were not an easy team to walk all over. We forget about them. Go back and watch those games. The Bears weren't just rolling over for anybody at the end of the year. 7-10 last year. They can easily get 9 wins. Even if Caleb Williams is just decent, if he's just okay, they can win 9 games.
Yeah, they're also bringing in Shane Waldron, the offensive coordinator, spent some time at Seattle. I'm interested to see how he's going to pan out there. I mean, he's younger. He's 44. I like having that young essence on the team.
I do too.
And having a guy who's worked in a really high-powered offense before, being the Seattle Seahawks. I just don't know.
High-powered's generous, but
well, at one point they were.
Yeah.
I mean, there were times where DK Metcalf and Russell Wilson did some amazing things together. All that aside, this team, I understand that him coming in is like the best case scenario for him. And I've watched some draft tape on him. I've watched some games that he's played in, and he does have some throws that will leave you with your thumbs just up in the air. Like, how did that happen? Like, I'm a huge fan of Caleb Williams. Don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. But I've been fans of other quarterbacks who have been generational stars that pan out to nothing. So I don't put all my eggs in that basket. What I look at is, honestly, the coaching room. I think until they get Eberflus out of there, this team is not going to be able to succeed in this division in the NFL, period. That's just my opinion. I'm sticking to it. I'm going under here with the Bears. I don't think adding Caleb Williams and some of these other pieces is enough to put them 2 more wins in the positive.
I'm going to go for my last under. This one might surprise you. I don't know. I'm going to go with the Miami Dolphins. Under 9.5 wins. I think the ride is over for Miami. I think it's basically a rebuild in disguise. That's what I'm calling the Dolphins. They went 11-6 last year. That was their chance. They essentially went all in on the 2023 season. They have lost a ton of good players, Ryan. They lost Van Ginkel. They lost Christian Wilkins. They lost their guard, Robert Hunt. That's just 3 of their best that they've lost. They have no cap space. Literally, I think they have like $2 million. Like, that's it. They're one of the lowest in the leagues. And so they couldn't keep any of their good players. They couldn't add anybody because they are in cap hell. It is a disaster for Miami as far as the cap goes and the money situation. Last season was their chance to capitalize. That's why they went all in. That's why they made these moves for Tyreek Hill and to bring in Christian Wilkins and all these guys. They did that. Mike McDaniel has been able to manage Tua, and he's been able to coach around his deficiencies. And last season was the best chance they were going to have to sniff a Super Bowl. Unfortunately, they messed up at the end of the season and lost home field advantage and had to go to Kansas City and had no chance at winning that game. They couldn't beat good teams last year. That was the knock on Miami. They beat up on the bad teams and fooled everybody, but anytime they played a good football team, they lost. I think Dallas was the only good team they beat all year. So you lose all these players. You put yourself in a bad cap situation. You can't get any help. I don't see any situation where the Dolphins got better. I just see them getting worse. I think Tua is already a limited quarterback. Their window was last year, and I think they missed it. They're not going to be horrible. Mike McDaniel is a great coach, but they're probably going to win 8-9 games. Like 9 to me is best case scenario for Miami.
I just counted through their schedule, and I came up with possibly 10 wins.
Okay, so right on it.
Because, see, the thing is about the Dolphins, man, they're probably, even if they aren't as good as what they were last year, they're probably still going to get a wild card. And I know that sounds weird, but just looking at that division, I mean, there's a chance they could beat the Bills in this division. I don't know how the Bills are going to turn out starting in September, right? But what I do know is that there's no chance in Hades that the Jets or the Patriots finish above the Dolphins in this division. We're talking about win totals, though. When you talk about win totals, you see that the Dolphins, I mean, the schedule doesn't look too scary, to be honest with you. And I think there's some games here that they could probably squeak out that you wouldn't think that they would win. But I agree with you. We saw it time and time again last year where they would go up against a team that you thought they had it in the bag. They would struggle, mid-third to late fourth quarter, and you're like, what happened? Like, where did it all go wrong? And I think losing some of these big pieces, like you had said, especially on the defensive side of the ball, that's going to really hurt them in the long run, because one thing that they had to hang their hat on was a really good defense. But when you lose people like Raekwon Davis and Christian Wilkins and Brandon Jones, and the list just goes on and on, right? And you have backfilled it with who?
No one, because you can't, because you don't have any money.
That's exactly right. Maybe Kendall Fuller, maybe Jordan Poyer, maybe he turns out to be a little bit better than he was at the Bills.
I get a 56-year-old safety. Open the floodgates. Right. Lombardi's coming home.
Don't worry, because you also get a 29-year-old safety at Saron Neal. So, yeah, they haven't done a good job at replacing those positions.
Well, they haven't had an option.
They can't afford
it.
Yeah, I mean, they just can't do it. I hope the draft goes well for them. But I like your analogy there, a draft or a rebuild in disguise.
Right. That's exactly what it is.
That's pretty creative. I like that. And who better to disguise it than the sly man himself, Mike McDaniel.